Welcome to the Nostalgia Train Book Club. First pick of the year for January 2023. Today we're discussing a series of unfortunate events. Book the first. Is that how he says it? The Bad Beginning. I also have my copy that I can hold up.
I do not, but I have that copy in paperback.
Yeah, Book the First. Not the first book. Book the First.
Makes sense.
I always forget how to start lives. Like the moment the red light goes on, I'm like, oh my god.
Usually you ask people their experience with the book.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm Violet. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows the book club. If you don't, leave a comment and I'll explain it.
Yeah.
If you're new here, raise your hand. Nobody raises their hand.
And you've been here so long.
That's not fair. My hand is permanently raised.
Anyways, this was my first time reading this book. It was published in 1999. We just looked that up. Words. This is my first time reading it. I heard of the book. Like I was aware of this when, like, in my school age days, but I don't know why I never read it. Who knows? But I did see the Jim Carrey movie when that came out in 2004. I didn't remember any of the plot. I just remembered the vibes going into reading this, and there got a certain point in the plot where I was like, oh, I remember this now. So that was my experience with the book. Anne?
I'm Anne. I read the entire series about 2 years ago, and before I read the books, because I had never heard of them, like they were so not a thing here. I hadn't heard of them, I hadn't seen the movie or anything, but I did watch the Netflix show and then got the books and then read the books and loved the books. And now I reread the first book. And this is me. Big fan.
I am Mars or May or MG or whatever you want to call me at this point. And as with basically everything else that the book club has done, this is one of my favorite series from childhood. I feel like I say that every time I'm on here. But yes, I think I started reading the series for the first time when I was like 8, which is entirely too young to be reading such sad things. But also, I read a lot of sad things as a kid. But I didn't...
Oh, that doesn't show at all.
Wow. Okay. I didn't read the whole thing until high school. I was like 14-ish years old when I read the whole series for the first time. And it's just so good. I love it a lot.
I don't know if Sam is there.
I'm here. Hi, I'm Sam, coming to you not from my usual space. I will return there at some point. This was much like Violet. I had heard about the series, but I remember exactly why I never read it, because I opened the book and Lemony Snicket was like, this book does not have a happy ending. So if you don't like that, go read another book. And I was like, yes, thank you, sir. And then I went and read a different book. But I did see the Jim Carrey movie when I was older. And also, I just remembered the vibes. So, yeah. But I really enjoyed this book. I can't say that I would have enjoyed it when I was the age I first was going to read it, but I enjoyed it today.
Nice. So a mixed panel. Oh, and I mean, I just want to give a shout out to our co-conductor, Casey, who couldn't be here.
We love you, Casey.
Send her all the loves.
And a little bit of malice. Just a little bit.
Yeah, just to keep her on her toes, yeah.
Yeah, we can't be.
I forgot to make a spoiler banner.
It's okay. I think the 3 people that I
Bye,
hear
Sam.
will miss you.
Spoilers. Yeah, we're just gonna write spoilers. I hope that's how you spell spoilers.
If not, we all know what you mean.
Yeah, if
Nobody
not,
can
it's just a
spell.
meme now.
Make it a train of eyes.
Oh, I should. Nah, I'm too lazy to
I would
do
love
that.
that. I
Did
actually
y'all
found a
notice-
bracelet that has an eye on it, and I was gonna wear it, but then I went to a shower and took it off. So
I changed my emoji specifically for today.
I
love
hit
that.
the back button because I went to check chat, and then I hit back thinking it would get rid of chat, and it just took me away.
Well,
Oh,
well,
looks
well,
like
well.
We have Somber Honey Books dropping an eyeball.
Who is that?
We also have Ink Steady dropping a teapot. Who are these mysterious people dropping these weird emojis?
I also love that she probably didn't read the series. She just read the first book and dropped a teapot.
Whoa, wait, is Michael actually sending a smiley face and not just a
Yeah.
neutral face?
Whoa.
That is so weird. Were you replaced? Are you an alien?
Yeah. Still haven't finished, got 25 minutes left, but still feel qualified enough to talk about the crimes against children in this book.
I love that. for you.
That could have been the title of the banner.
Quick,
Crimes
change it
Against-
right now.
Where is
Send your
Brock?
picture on Discord.
See, I think it is an apostrophe because the real Michael would say, "What is Brock doing right now?"
That is true. That is true. I sent him a picture of my dog.
Crimes
Questionable.
against children. Ah, no, I'm too lazy to.
He's trying to tell us Count Olaf has him captive.
I mean, what's the worst Count Olaf can do with Michael?
So I usually would start. I think I don't know if I want to start with plot and pacing or if I want to go right into prose and writing style because I feel like the prose and the writing style is such like a big part of this book. Like
It's so good.
Mhm.
it's very voicey. It has a very distinct style. So I think that's the place to start. So I know like, or at least I had heard going into this book, I was expecting like, oh, this is going to be just the very like snarky, omniscient, over the top. And I think it was a little bit more toned down than my expectations had thought it was going to be. I really thought it was going to be super over the top. He definitely does this thing where he'll like say a word and then like explain the meaning.
But it's
which
like
I
in the
think-
context of the story and not like
Yeah.
the dictionary definition, and it's so funny.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think like, oh, maybe that could be come off a little bit annoying, like in the audiobook, like me, 32, listening to this, maybe slightly annoying. But I also kind of found it cute.
I am probably extremely biased with this, but I absolutely adored the way that was done. But it could just be because I was listening to Tim Curry explain things to me as if I am a child who he's trusting with some very serious information. And I was like, yes, Tim. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. I got you.
Every
No, I
time
understood.
he did it, I like stopped and thought like, did younger me know this word? Like,
There were a couple when I was like, that's actually really nice because that word does have multiple meanings, and knowing what they mean by it in this context is very nice. Like, I felt the writing and narrative style for this book is probably one of the best for kids that I have read in the last 5 years, and I've been reading a lot of kids in middle grade.
yeah, like I actually think I would have loved this as a kid. It's one of those ones now reading it as an adult where I was like, oh, I feel like I would have gotten more out of this reading it as a kid. Not like in a Warrior Cats way, but like I think this could have been magical.
Oh yeah.
Here's an example of when he uses it. Occasionally, their parents gave them permission to take a rickety trolley. The word rickety, you probably know, here means unsteady or unlikely to collapse. So, like, just quickly throws it in there, like, oh, okay, rickety. Maybe, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of cute to stop the narrative to explain the word. And he
Sometimes
also
the
doesn't
words are
dumb it
so
down,
random,
he says,
though.
oh, you probably already know.
Is very tonal. I also sorry, I lost it. Go on. I'll let you know if I find my train again.
The nostalgia
Friends,
train.
any thoughts on the prose writing style, POV?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I also
Oh,
think
hold
that's
on.
another.
I remember now. Normally, I hate second person things because they're always like, "Oh, well, you feel or you think this." But when he like does it in here, he's like, "Well, you may or you might or you could," and then may, and I'm like, "Yes, thank you for considering that I might not actually feel these things." But then there's also
Good
that
point.
one part where he's like, "Now you and me would, be a basic human being, but these other people," and I'm like, "Thank you for assuming I'm a good person."
I really like the fact that the reader is kind of a character in this book because it's so displaced in setting. Like, I was reading an interview that Daniel Handler, Lemony Snicket, did, and he was talking about how he chose the names for the different characters. He didn't want, like, all English sounding names or all German sounding names or anything like that. He wanted it to be various, and he didn't want it set in like a specific decade or a specific location. And I feel like it's really easy to have a displaced story like that and just make it not grounded for the reader. But I feel like that's not the case in this at all. Like, I still feel so grounded in the story, even if I have no idea when or where we are.
I completely agree.
That's a good point. Like, I didn't
There's
even
like
think
a
about that.
specific
Like,
line where he's talking about weird laws, and he's like, and some city near you has a law that forbids me from going within so many miles of it. And I'm like, Lemony, sir, what did you do?
Many
no,
things.
I really feel like the story does have that sort of like, yeah, I didn't think about it like how you explained it, but like, yeah, like this could kind of take place anywhere, anytime. Like moments it feels British, moments it feels American, moments it feels Victorian, moments it feels more modern. Like, yeah, I thought it has that magical sense. Also, I wanted to say hi to Essie. I read the books when I was a kid, but I think I only read until book 8 or 9. I've been meaning to read the rest of the series since the Netflix series came out. Still need to do that. Loved the writing style as well. Agreed with the second person. Yes, all the groundedness is the displaced story. In the displaced story.
There's also
That's
just
why I
other
like having the
cute
discussion, because
details.
it brings up things that I didn't think about.
Yeah. My favorite part of the book is when Klaus is like really, really tired in the middle of the night, and then he keeps repeating the sentence, like,
Yeah.
and he kept reading the sentence, and he kept reading the sentence, because you feel like, oh wow, what? Like, it takes you a
Bruh,
second to
like-
realize what's going on.
Like at that point, I had gotten too cozy on my couch, and I didn't like sleep much last night because my middle child was having trouble sleeping till like 1:30, so I didn't fall asleep till 2:30. So I was like trying not to doze off myself. And then like they started doing that, and I was like, wait, hold on. I'm also dyslexic, sir. You can't do this to me. It got me good with that part.
I agree. That was so cute.
I love those moments in the series.
So I feel like I keep talking over people, and then I go like completely quiet.
Yeah, it's like we all have to say something at the same time, or not at all.
I'm about to get my gremlin, so I'll be disappearing for a bit.
Yeah, but I definitely felt like the sort of POV and narration, like it wasn't like over the top as I thought it was going to be. It definitely still felt very readable. And I don't know, I thought it was going to go to this absurd level, and it did stay.
It was
more
like
grounded.
it was like the whimsical campy of most kids movies. So even when it's absurd and out there, it still feels very like realistic and oh yeah, that could happen in this setting. And I like greatly appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are people that are like Lemony Snicket that would tell a story like that, which is so nice because you're like, oh yeah, I could see that happening.
Well, I just watched a few interview clips of him earlier before, and seeing his speaking style, I was like, oh, okay, he just has a lot of comedic timing and just his regular speech patterns. I was like, okay, I can see that. So I think we overall agree the prose was nice,
Mm-hmm.
good for children, as well as can be appreciated by adults.
I don't
It
know
was-
if this counts. I guess this counts as writing style, but like all the literary allusions and like references to other things, it's so fun. Like, because as a kid, I wouldn't have recognized most of these things, but like now going back as an adult and being like, I know exactly where you got this name from, or referencing this thing here. Oh, my cat is in the window, so she's probably gonna jump at my microphone at some point.
Also, all the like alliterations, is that what it's called? Like the bad beginning, the Valley Village. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a charming style of writing, and it felt refreshing in a way because it just had several little original flares. It was not just like, it's not like it was just a bit, you know what I mean? Like, I think that writing style could very just easily become like a cheap gimmick, and it didn't feel like that.
I agree.
Or I don't want to say that writing style, maybe people trying to imitate the idea of the writing style. If that does this make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but
I
I feel
talk
like
about literary things like I'm smart, but I'm I don't know what I'm talking about.
I feel like the author is like very good at drawing that line of like, okay, I have this narrating character that is very campy, but I also have all of these other characters in the story to be told that is not entirely told from that perspective. So you get like basic story with the over the top narration mixed in, and I think it's a good mix.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like in the world, it feels like these over the top things can happen. Like it doesn't feel out of place, but then there are also things that ground it and tie it together that it's not. There's I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's a very unique style. But he does it really well. Let's talk about plot and pacing because
There was a lot of plot, and it was very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was not ready for some of the things that got brought up in this book. That was my oh moment when I was like, oh crap, I forgot that was the movie. That was the one thing when I remember, oh yeah, I did see that movie.
What part was it?
Well, when they say the name of the play and you're like, oh shit, oh crap, I know what's gonna happen. Oh no.
Yeah. I feel like the plot is very quick at becoming very harsh multiple times throughout the book. Like, kids chilling at the beach, all of a sudden their parents are dead. And then, they go to live with their uncle, and then he basically holds them as prisoners. Like, it goes from, okay, this is a bad situation, to what the hell just happened? Multiple times. I love that.
Oh, Chloe is so cute.
Yeah.
Can you hear her purring? Because she is
No.
so loud. Okay, that's good.
Well,
At
let's
least.
all be quiet.
She looks kind of like an animatronic.
She's standing directly on a bruise on my leg, and it's so annoying. But you know what? She's cute, so she gets a pass.
Yeah.
Is
God,
this a heart?
cute
Is
things
this
always do.
recognizable as a heart? I'm trying really hard.
Yeah. Okay. The beginning, the beach scene, that was kind of jarring, but I understand, like, as a child reader, you need to set the plot in motion. So I think as an adult, I'm like, okay, I would have set the scene up different. I would have, done this different. Like, just drop this here.
I feel like it does a good job of letting you know right from the start what kind of book and what kind of series this is, because you don't get a whole lot of setup to the story before things start to happen. And, like, it just continues on, like, these kids go through some stuff. Oh my goodness, Chloe.
Yeah. And it focuses on like really irrelevant stuff. Like this whole bit about them going to Justice Strauss's house and then going to the market and then cooking. Like there's so much emphasis on this one meal, which yes, it's important that they have to do it, but I feel like that's how a kid would see it. Like they would dedicate multiple scenes to that because it's the one thing that they are stuck on. Like, oh, I had to
Yeah.
make dinner, and in order to make dinner, I had to do that and that and that. And it feels very realistic that children would focus on that.
No, I definitely agree. Like, I could feel like if I was at that age keeping a diary, that's like exactly what I would have like written in my diary. We do it here, and we got this, and we picked out this, and
So I
Exactly.
feel like tonally it sets it up from the like very introduction that it is a bleak and like weary book. So even the scenes for me that were supposed to be more heartwarming and stuff, I was still always just waiting for, well, how is this going to go bad? Or is this gonna stay as good? I think in my notes, the minute that like the nice neighbor lady is introduced, I'm like, okay, but is Count Olaf gonna kill her? Like is this lady gonna be okay? So I was just always expecting it to go bad because that's what the theme of the book is. From what I could tell, it's like no matter how good things are going, that or just like appreciate the little moments amongst all of the bleakness. And yeah, so then like when they're at the beach and stuff, it's like it's a dreary gray kind of day. It's like it's not warm and sunny or anything. It's a gray, like cool day. And so it's not supposed to be like this happy upbeat moment at the beach, even though these kids are having a good time and doing their own thing. The overall tone of the scene is still very just bleh to me,
yeah.
right? And so I feel like the book carries on with that. And this meal I felt had like a warmer tone because they're just genuinely having like the best day that they have had since their parents died. And I feel like that's why there's so much focus on it, because that's like truly the only happy time in the book until like toward the ending after the climax. But other than that, the rest of the time is just it's not happy tonally, it's not happy setting wise, and any hope that they had is almost immediately crushed. So that's why I think there was so much importance on that one meal.
Yeah, I mean, the advertising is not wrong. A series of unfortunate events, the bad beginning. Like,
It's very on point. And if
yeah,
you like read the first sentence and it's like, this is not a happy story, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. Fine, it's a book. And then you read and you're like, oh yeah, shit. It is not.
Looks like I believed Mr. Tim Curry.
yeah. I didn't expect it to be as heavy as it was in some bits. That's definitely for sure. The thing is, it's funny that when Sam said about Justice Strauss being introduced, I thought she was. This is like how my brain works. I'm like, oh, this character's being too nice. They're gonna be secretly revealed as evil.
Can you just trust a nice adult in this world? Come on.
See,
You know,
the
I
thing
read-
is, though, the nice adults are kind of the ones who do the worst because they have such good intentions, and not to segue into Violet's other banner, but like, they really, like, you don't expect Count Olaf to be nice, so you expect all the bad things, but like, the nice people kind of let them down the most because they try so hard and they still keep failing these children over and over again.
Yeah.
Happiness with dinner.
I like how you say nice people, and I'm like Judge Stroud or Justice Stroud and who else? Because I hated Mr.
Well, there you meet some more people later on the line.
Yeah. They also have unfortunate events happen to them, with them.
Yeah,
Involving
there's
them.
a lot of unfortunate things happening to a bunch of people.
Yeah, how bad the book got so quickly. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I think it was fine, like the plot and pacing. It, you know, not every book has to have like I feel like the same sort of plot structure or the same sort of setup. I think it worked. So because when they get to Count Olaf's and they're living there, because they have so many just small bad things happening to them, it always felt like the story was moving, if that makes sense, even if it was hard at that point to see the overarching. You guys, I'm not doing good at words today.
I know what you mean. We get you.
Yeah. I also think that the series, at least the first couple of books, does a really good job at actually being like finished stories within the books. Because I feel like some series obviously carry a lot of plot threads through, which
Yeah.
this series does not. Like, yes, it carries the children are orphans and Count Olaf wants their money. That carries through, but everything else, like, you could probably swap books 2 and 3 in order and still read them just the same.
Yeah, you don't
Like,
really
minor
get into like
spoilers.
the big threads until later on in the series.
Yeah. Which I personally love, because then you have time to sympathize with the characters and like wonder. And it's so I was so mad at the series for taking so long to explain their shit to me. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah.
Don't you dare spoil it for me, Anne.
I'm not
Let's
spoiling
read
anything.
the books and we can chat about it.
Yeah. Why don't
I
you
have-
purposefully have not
Union.
picked up the second book, even though it's sitting on my library shelf right now, because I didn't want to be like influenced by the second book for this discussion.
Oh,
But yeah, I
second book was
reread
so
the
much
Wikipedia
better.
summary for book 1 because I finished reading book 13 today, and I'm like, oh crap, let me just remember what happens in book 1 so I don't accidentally say things.
All the bad things happening to all the good people.
That is true.
Let's
That
move the other
is
banner. I
true.
don't think there's anything else to say about the pacing. Let's just go right into the drama.
Woo.
We definitely have, failed by parental figures, failed by the system.
Felt by everyone.
Hashtag childhood.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
also-
Danny, I did it. You brought up about Justice Strauss also being kind of failing these children. And I think it's hard as an adult to read that and be like, oh, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you stepping in here? But yeah, there's definitely
I
this.
hate Mr. Poe because I don't feel like he genuinely cares about those children. And at one point, he's like, the kids are like, well, we've never heard of Count Olaf or anything. He's like, well, your parents said that you must be raised like as conveniently as possible. He's in town. But then like, well, I can't say my next thing with, there's a spoiler banner. But then when Justice Shroud wants to take them in, or Strauss, wants to take them in, he's all like, no, it has to be a family member. And I'm like, bitch, I think they'd be okay with it. And Madame Justice, who works in law, I think you could find a way around this. I just think y'all are not motivated enough. You just don't care.
So really, if you think about it, it's actually their actual parents who failed them by putting the stipulation there.
We learn more about their parents later on.
A proper plan in place.
I don't want to be too harsh on their parents.
Anne and I are gonna. We gotta talk about it at some point.
Because you know what happens later.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think
conspiracy.
had I read the series as a kid, I would have been more disappointed in the adults because I wouldn't have understood all the things that stood behind it, like laws, like stuff like that. Because now I'm like, okay, I understood why Justice Strauss can't do anything. You know, there's laws, there's regulations. She is not responsible for those children, and it would take a very long time to get that, if at all. You know, whatever.
She
however.
offhandedly was like, no, this thing that I just said is legally binding is no longer legally binding, because even though the word of the law is, oh, you have to sign it by your own hand, as much as I don't want this to have been the case, it didn't say by your dominant hand. It just said your hand. Is that hand still connected to that child? Did anybody cut it off?
I really like Justice Strauss, but I sometimes think she's a little bit stupid. And like, unless someone points it out to her, like, this is it.
I feel like that's all the adults, really.
Yes. It felt like they're like walking with like goggles that make the world look different than it is. And you're just like, why can't you see? And the adults are like, what?
Well, I feel like that ties into later on. They talk in a later book. This isn't a spoiler, but they talk about this poem about like the 6 different people touching the different parts of an elephant, and like none of them can, like, they all think they're touching a different creature because none of them can see the big picture. And I feel like that's a very good representation of all the characters in this story, because like none of them have the full picture, and like they don't all see everything that these kids have gone through, and that is like kind of the biggest downfall, because like they want to help these kids and they try to do it to the best of their ability, but they can't really see what the best way to help them is.
Yeah. Monty.
Yeah. But I do think as an adult reader, you have to a little bit suspend your disbelief that Count Olaf would even be allowed to have these children.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know where this is set. Like,
Oh, bonus Sam.
hello, Sam. Point 2.
I've murdered the other Sam.
2.0.
Don't worry about her.
Every second character in the series.
Look, one of the reasons I hate Mr. Poe is because he's just so nonchalant and non-caring about the situation at all. Like, yeah, he takes the kids in for a little bit, but like he just shoves them in a room with his kids and then leaves his wife to deal with everything, basically.
Yeah, that's dick move.
And is like, sir? And then he's like, yeah, no, this random stranger who is related to you in some way, I don't exactly remember. Yeah, no, he's in charge of you. Oh, look at this, like, rundown house that I'm sure wouldn't actually pass Child Protective Services, but, you know, we're going to leave you here anyway. And then they, like, go to him. They'd be like, hey, he hit my brother. And he's like, what? Yeah, whatever. Oh, you have to do chores? Wah, boo-hoo, spoiled rich brats. Go back to your uncle. And I'm like, sir? Smack you across the face. See how you feel.
Well, I mean, you have to give Count Olaf a little bit of credit. He did
Count
provide
Olaf's
them with
the
the one
only
bed,
smart
the pile of
motherfucker.
rocks, the cardboard box.
Love the cardboard box. Oh. And the
At
curtains?
least he gave them money to buy dinner.
You know, he planned the play as a fun family activity.
Come on, you need some raspberries.
The
On the
baby
oatmeal.
had a once-in-a-lifetime, hopefully, experience.
There's a lot that's gonna happen in the series. She's gonna have a lot of experiences. All of them are.
A lot of unfortunate ones. One might say a series of them.
One might say that.
Yeah.
I also think, like, going back to what Danny said about we don't know when it's said and where it's said, I feel like that helps the illusion that the system is just not working because we don't know what the system is.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely helps that factor. It's true, yeah. I didn't remember from seeing the movie that Count Olaf was an actor. So when they brought that up, I was like, that's random. Like, I was like, that's a weird thing for him to be. But it made like so weird sense. Like, you didn't know, like, is he putting on a show? Is this real? Is this fake? Like, when somebody's an actor, you kind of have this feeling of never knowing what's authentic with them.
Mm.
In the book I was listening to, he was voiced by Jim Carrey, so that was like a weird memory clue, but then I still remembered nothing about the plot, and I was like, well, this is fun. Feels like I've met somebody. You know how, like, you ever get a weird feeling when you meet a relative who, like, knew you when you were 2 or 3, and you vaguely might possibly remember their voice or something, but, like, you don't actually remember them? That's how I felt with Count Olaf because of Jim Carrey's voice.
Is he possibly your uncle too?
He's my shitty uncle, apparently.
I didn't have like a banner. I mean, I can put this one down. I'm sure it'll just be the recurring theme. Just talking about the sort of trio of siblings and them, I guess, as individual characters and sort of as just a unit, like this sibling bonding. You know, they are their own unit. They're their own little family.
I appreciated that the book took time to establish the individual dynamic of the sibling pairs and that it wasn't all just Violet taking care of the other two at all. There's like parts where Klaus is holding Sunny, or even like the reason that he got smacked in the first place is because he was trying to get a bed for Violet because she's been sleeping on the floor and letting him take the bed. So it's like, as a unit, they're all trying to take care of each other. And they like seem to, you know, they respect and like each other. And I even like that the book pointed at when it's like he's talking about first impressions and how first impressions can change. He points out that Klaus didn't like Sunny when she was born,
Yes,
but now
I
like
Nobody likes the younger sibling when they're born.
yeah.
I liked both of mine, but I was like 5 and 6 years
Liar.
old, and I had informed because I told my mom I wanted siblings. And then my aunt and my mom got pregnant at the same time, and I was like, these are my babies now. So
How old do you guys think Sunny is? Because at
In-
parts she
in
feels like she's like a year old, but then other times she's like a whole being. And so I'm like, okay, is she like 5? Like, I don't know. It fluctuates for me, especially the later you get in the series. You're like, what is this child?
Yeah, she's so smart and she comprehends so much, yet she can't talk, like, at all. Like, she makes sounds and, like, her siblings know, which I like. I think that's a really cute detail. But, yeah, her age just makes absolutely zero sense.
I would have
No.
They keep
estimated
calling her
about
a
10
baby,
months.
but like, I don't know.
Based on her like physical mobility and everything, I would have guesstimated about 10 months. It's very common for children to develop either their motor skills or their like verbal or mental skills, and she has very like good motor skills, so it would make sense that she is a late talker, or that she wouldn't even start talking until about a year old or such. All 3 of my children developed their motor skills first, and so they were all late talkers, and I was
Did
like,
they
is it
also
me?
have 4 very sharp teeth? And, like,
They
biting
had
teeth?
more than that. My oldest actually started eating full like whole food before he was young because his appetite was so big, and he started teething at like 8-9 months. So he teethed early. So yeah, Sunny reminds me a lot of my oldest.
Yeah, Sunny the Biter.
I also like looking at the context that these came out in like 1999, like that Violet is the inventor and Klaus is the reader. Because I feel like there was still a lot of these like generic gender roles where the girl would have been the reader and the guy would have been the inventor, and
Oh
that
yeah,
they
even
swapped it.
even still in modern media, I liked that.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Mhm.
getting
Still
better.
more
But
common. Yeah.
Yeah, and the baby's the biter.
love that. I mean,
She gets more
That's the
personality
baby
traits
gonna
later on.
Oh, come on. I love that her personality is biting.
She still
she's
bites.
your mini rat.
She's like like when the narrative translates what her coups probably are, I'm like, she's like being portrayed kind of like Stewie. Where it's very much a baby, but a baby of high intelligence. So
It- Sometimes I also thought she was really young because there was like one line where it made it sound like what had she like barely been like born when the parents died? I was like, well, then why were they out alone with the baby? And like there was like
Yeah,
it was the 90s.
It was the
there were
90s.
just several times, but it worked in the sort of absurd context of the story.
Mm-hmm. Violet, how do you feel about sharing your name?
You know what? I thought it would be more weird than it was. It wasn't weird at all, just because the character like had a clear character traits and things, and it wasn't as weird as I thought it would be.
It's also important to keep in mind that Violet in the book was 14. And definitely by the time I was 14, I was entrusted with infants unsupervised. Like I definitely babysat them all the time.
I'm not
So
trusted with infants now.
well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Anne. That sounds like a you struggle.
Themes, symbols, motifs. I mean, we can't not talk about the eye.
I'm sorry, what eye?
I was saying to Anne before we went live, like, as you know, this being my first time reading the book, like, oh, they really show the eye a lot, but it was never explained. I was like, oh, they're really
Yeah,
setting this up, this eye, this eye. And it's like, oh, okay.
You don't get an explanation until like 6 books in.
Yeah, and it
But
keeps
even then,
popping
it's
up
like-
everywhere. I love
It's just
that.
an eye.
Very on brand. Do you want to show off your cool tattoo while we're at this, cousin?
I mean, it's on my ankle, so that feels
Which
weird.
is a good place.
Look, Olaf, just don't show your foot on
Just
the
imagine
internet.
it wasn't
okay?
your
Find
butt.
the
That would be
actual,
more
like,
awkward.
I can hold up. I can find the what design I got because, like, if you look up VFDI, there's like 8 different things that come up.
Now I want to see 8 different things that come up.
I got this. This is what my tattoo looks like.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Is
And-
VFD actually mentioned in the first book, or did you just spoil stuff?
It's mentioned.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know is every time it came up, I'm like, so is this the Illuminati? Is it the evil eye? Because when they were like, who puts an eye on their door? And I'm like, a lot of cultures to ward off evil. Like, that's a
Mhm.
common thing. But then it was on his ankle, and I'm like, that, not so much. So,
Yeah.
I liked it. I didn't understand it, but I liked that there was sort of this little mystery, weird symbol that kept showing up.
It'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Illuminati confirmed, Violet. That's all we need to know.
There'll be more symbols throughout the story too.
This was very valid. As he says, when I read this as a kid, the eyes everywhere creeped me out.
You know, there's not an eye on. Oh, there's a painting of an eye on my cover.
Wait, can I make you big?
Those are the only eyes on the cover, but then the art on the inside. Oh, is it not
My
this book?
inside looks exactly the same as yours, even though we have different covers.
Oh, it might be book 2, but like how this is them on the trolley or whatever.
Yeah.
I think on book 2, it's like a picture of Olaf's ankle, so you like get a real clear shot of it.
I have this heading at chapter 8 of eyes.
Hmm.
Yeah, but not those eyes.
No, but that's the best I got, Anne.
I have a note somewhere along the time when they talked about his ankle tattoo where I'm like, I have a mild obsession and bias for iconry and like eyes. Like, let's see if it's too bright.
Oh, I do
or
remember
if you
that.
can see it. Nope, it's too bright. My desktop background is just Link's eye. Like this panel from a comic that essentially just boils down to a giant picture of like Link's eye right here. So I was like, so I'm just loving this, but I could understand how somebody not in my position would find this very creepy and unsettling.
Yeah. I also think
I kinda wish I
establishing
was,
that.
like-
Go.
I kind of wish that I was like annotating this, and I would just put a sticky tab every time it says the word "I."
You'd need a lot of tabs.
Just get the ebook and then control find the word I.
Any other
Cheating.
symbols or motifs you guys can think of? That's Egypt.
Not for just this book. There are
Yeah.
things that like that show up in this book that like become recurring later on.
I don't know if it qualifies as a theme, symbol, or motif, but I really enjoy the way that like the kids intuitively pick up on things, but they don't understand what they are, and they discuss that because like that's so true and real to actual kids, and then they seek to try to learn because they want to understand it. Because in my experience, children hate not understanding something, and they will like hound you for information on it. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I agree. I think I did a good job. I'm gonna put this banner down.
Bye, Benna.
Bye-bye, Banner.
I don't
Love
know any
you.
more discussion topics, so we can just
Talk
wing
about
it
whatever we
until
want.
we
Who's
run out of things
everyone's
to talk about.
favorite character? I need to know.
Sunny.
We obviously know mine's Mr. Poe. Love the man. Push him off
Obviously.
a cliff.
I don't know, Klaus was always my favorite growing up. I think I had a little bit of a crush on him because he's also a
Ooh.
massive nerd.
Fair.
But I don't know.
I
don't
loved
know
him.
who-
I love that while he is portrayed as a massive nerd and definitely a huge book lover, he also breaks several nerd stereotypes because he's very confident and he is willing to like step up and stand up for what's right. There's only like one instance where he holds back, and it was like after he had been freshly smacked, and like I understand.
Mhm.
But like even after that, at some point, he still like gets in Count Olaf's face. So I'm like, I love that he's breaking those stereotypes. And I enjoy that Violet has the whole pulls hair back in a ponytail when she's getting serious thing. I'm like, yes.
It always bothered me that she used a ribbon to tie it back, because that's like, if you're like tying it back like at the bottom of your neck, that's fine. You can use a ribbon for that. But like tying it up in like a high ponytail,
That
it was
doesn't work.
just a ribbon. Like, she's gotta have some serious like skill doing that, because that's
Yeah.
difficult.
Tell me this was written by a man without telling me this was written by a man.
That is the one detail that gets him.
Sir, you fucked up.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, Sunny was definitely my favorite, hands down. Love that little biter.
Oh, I love Sunny. Yep. I actually don't know who my favorite character would be. But I love the children so much, and I hate most of the adults, so there's that.
Oh, what's the name of Count Olaf's friend with the?
The hook hand?
Yeah.
I think he's just a hook-handed man.
Oh, he doesn't have a name.
None
No,
of them have names.
Any of them have names.
They just
Oh.
have the description.
It's the hook-handed man, the bald man, the man with the big nose, the two white-faced women, and the one that is neither a man nor a woman.
Interesting. I didn't remember that fact, but also like the idea of like from a kid's gaze, it also makes sense.
For my kids. Yeah, that's still how I identify. I start watching a new show. That's how everyone's described. 5 seasons in, maybe I'll remember their names.
What really bothered me about this book that gave me the ick was the sort of child bride aspect. Like
All of the like males who are all like, oh, well, you have such a pretty face. He wouldn't hurt your pretty face. And I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. Like first of all, just the setup is weird and uncomfy to read that as an adult, knowing that this is a child. I felt really uncomfy by it. And then when you're reading it, it's like, oh, okay, he's just doing this on paper to money. But then he makes like a comment like, oh,
the absolute like like the ickest one was Olaf, who's all like, "Oh, I'm gonna make you some good breakfast because I'm your father. I'm your dad. I'm your father. But also, I'm gonna go legally marry my oldest daughter, and I'm gonna give myself permission to do it because I'm her father." And
Mhm.
then
Yeah, it got
and then at
weird.
the end of the play, he's all like, "Now you and me, we're gonna go enjoy our wedding night." And I'm like, "Sir,
Yeah, yeah.
sir."
I don't know. Like if I, well, first of all, I was gonna say if I was writing this, I just wouldn't have done that plot line at all. But then I mean, you have to then clarify that it's not that it was just supposed to be on paper for things because it brought it to an ick point.
I also
So-
feel like it happened so fast. Like Count Olaf literally just learned that these children's parents supposedly died, right? And like no, that he would get those children basically. And then he's like, "Oh, I need to have the money immediately." Like he cannot wait a month or 2 or 3 to come up with a better plan than marrying his
Huh?
daughter.
I also feel like waiting 4 years until she's 18
Just keep an eye
isn't
on him, make sure Vi doesn't
like
get in there.
unreasonable. Like
Yeah,
4
no, I
years is
guess
not that
then-
long.
She could do whatever she wants with it. Like he wouldn't necessarily have control over her unless he used those 4 years to manipulate. And
Yeah.
like
That's what I'm saying. Like Count
Yeah.
Olaf may be evil, but like, come on, man, make some better evil schemes.
yeah.
To be fair, he could, because like even though she turns 18, he would still, I think, have custody of the 2 siblings.
Yeah, but Violet could probably, with a lot of money, get custody of her siblings.
Hmm.
I don't know. Is Mr. Poe in charge?
No, I think she'd go to Justice Strauss and she'd, figure it out.
Would she? I think she would have to hire Klaus.
I think Violet and
could
Klaus would
probably
tell
do
her
it.
what they need her to do, and then she'd do it.
Klaus has got a future in law. But
What you got there, Violet?
I don't have anything. I definitely wasn't eating meatballs.
Well, at least you weren't eating a sauce with, all the disgusting things in it.
Yeah,
my
I was
goodness.
really put
I
off
was
by
watching
this plot
JoJo's
line.
Bizarre Adventure the other day, and the episode title is "Let's Go Get Italian Food." And in that episode, they eat spaghetti with puttanesca sauce, and I'm like, I know what that is. It was really funny. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, I don't know. That sauce, I was just like, man, nobody on this entire planet would ever pick that sauce. Which makes it kind of funny that they did. But come on. Everybody hates at least one of the ingredients. At least one of them.
what is in puttanesca sauce?
I don't know how to say all of those things in English.
I don't remember.
But like the little fish thingies, then the little
Anchovies?
green.
Okay,
Yeah.
so anchovies, olive.
Capons? Is that what they're
Capers?
called?
Capers.
They are so disgusting.
I'm not a fan of capers either.
Let me look up capers. Food.
They're like small and green and disgusting. Which I feel like that description fits a lot of things. But
Well, I don't think I've ever had a caper, so I cannot
it's
say.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Stay
I'm gonna
away.
be honest. I did think about DNFing the book
How dare you yourself?
because of that child.
Oh!
Like, guys, it really icked me out. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it was like a
They did a very good job making it feel very creepy.
yeah. But I
Oh.
stuck with it because it was the book club, and I mean, it was pretty tiny. So
Yeah. I genuinely don't think Count Olaf would have gone there had everything gone the right way. He would have taken the money and been like, yeah, whatever the fuck, I don't need you.
And then killed them, probably. If we're
I
being
mean,
completely
yeah,
honest.
killed them, but at least he would, have done things with his daughter.
like, I remember that being in the movie. That was the one thing where I was like, oh crap, I remember that in the movie. But I don't know how old the actress was, and I was also younger myself, so
I
yeah, I would have been like
trusted-
then 13 when the movie came out, so I would have been that age, so I probably didn't see the ick of it.
I distrusted this book so hard when Mr. Poe said that they were going to live with a distant relative. I have a note that's like, "Are you selling the children?"
He's their closest relative, if you mean closest as in proximity.
That's what he meant, because that's when he's like in the most convenient way, and I'm like, "Sir, Sir, is he actually their relative? Did you make a deal? Shady under the table deal? Which my suspicions with that only grew when like they go to him and he's just like, meh, you gotta do chores, blah blah blah. But then he actually got upset at Olaf at some point, and I'm like, oh, I guess you didn't sell the children out.
Yeah, I think he's just an incompetent buffoon who like doesn't pay close enough attention to things because he's like, I'm such a busy business banker man. I don't have time for all of this. Like, I don't think he's actively trying to harm the children. I think he just doesn't.
No, he's just
He's
like,
just willing to do the bare minimum and nothing else.
Yeah.
And if the children aren't fine, is it his problem? Not really, unless they come back.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Also, he like chose to take the children to their burned down house, and I was like, sir,
Yeah.
why?
These poor kids, they yeah. It is a tough book to read as an
If
adult.
you really think about it, yeah. And I feel like the whole mental state is not really addressed, like, at all. And I understand, like, the psyche works different for children.
Yeah.
I disagree with that, because when they're at Mr. Poe's house, the book actually takes care to explain that they're really basically sad and shows depression because they like don't get out of bed and they don't even want to read and they're just it is what it is. But then like they go to Olaf's and they basically go back into survival mode. And when you're in survival mode like that, you don't really have time. That's how CPTSD comes about, because you don't have time to like be depressed. You don't have time to feel those emotions. So your brain just compartmentalizes everything again. And it's just like, well, this didn't happen. Or we don't feel that. So, and so I feel like, while it doesn't directly address it, that like if you're a kid going through that, or if you went through something like that when you were a kid, you could definitely relate to that or like feel that in there. So I feel like that was done very well without coming right out and saying, oh yeah, the children are depressed right now.
I'm trying to remember how it's set up in the next books.
Yeah,
I can't say anything about the next books, and I read book 1 this morning.
Yeah, so even though I thought about DNFing, I am going to pick up book 2. Like I said, I have it picked up from the library already.
Book
so
2 is a good one.
Yeah, but it's mostly on the recommendation of you two. Kind of.
I'm gonna force my husband to read book 1 and then discuss with him if he thinks that we could let our 3 children collectively read this. I think they're sheltered enough; they'll be fine.
Unless they find it so cool that they're like, oh wow, we are 3 siblings, but we have parents.
Oh, we gotta. No, bruh. Let me tell you, we were watching Treasure Planet, right? Have you ever seen Treasure Planet? You know how like there's a montage where it shows Jim Hawking's dad like walking out on them. My children asked me what was going on. I'm like, well, his dad's just leaving, and they're like, is he going like away? And they're like, yeah. And my oldest kind of got what was going on, and he's like a preteen now, so he was just like, is he going to get the milk? And I'm like, yeah, he's going. But then my middle child is like, are they getting divorced? And I'm like, yeah, something like that. And then he starts bawling because he's like, you and dad aren't gonna get divorced, are you? And I'm like, no. And then I told my husband about it because I'm like, in case our son asks you if we're getting divorced, this is why. Like,
yikes.
He was like, what did you do to my child? And I'm like, I answered a question. So I think my husband and I are safe. I don't think we will be assassinated anytime soon. At least not by the children.
There's Count Olafs running around out there. You never know.
No, I gotta worry about those though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have too much more to say about this book. It was heavier than I thought. Some dark things in there. The writing style was good. You guys got any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts, but a lot of the thoughts I have are like linked to the next books in the series. So I need to read them, and then we need to talk about it.
The two of you just go, and Anna and I will stay and keep talking about the series.
Hold on. I'm looking
Can't
at
just
my
stick your
notes.
tongue out at us. We are
I
your
didn't.
guests.
Oh,
I
I
did
like
not.
how there was so much stuff that seemed like it was just little like fun things to add, but then like everything comes back later. Like with the rock thing and with the grappling hook and so much focusing on her left and her right hand.
Oh, that's true.
And there was something else.
Oh my gosh, when I was a kid and I read the thing about like, and she signed the certificate with her left hand, I was like, that's her left hand. We know she's right-handed. And I thought I was like so smart for realizing it. But reading this as an adult, I'm like, yeah, they say it like 15 times. It's supposed to be obvious.
Yeah.
I have a note. Justice Strauss is sweet. Dense, but sweet.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, no,
Did you
that's
hear-
very accurate.
She's gonna be in a play, you guys. She always wanted to be in a play.
I know.
It's really exciting. I'm
So excited.
Just be happy for her.
Also, there's a point when Count Olaf is like, "You got a pretty face. I won't dispose of you like I will your brother and sister." And I'm like, "Sir, you just told her that you're killing her brother and sister after you get married, sir."
I mean, maybe he was gonna sell the children.
Fair.
He never said he'd kill them.
Just dispose of. There's my "don't do this to me while I'm drowsy" note.
How do you guys feel about Count Olaf as a villain and like fitting in with like villain archetypes?
I have a soft spot for him. It's really
Yeah.
bad. I know it's really bad.
So
No, it's
my
fine.
uncle Jim Carrey Olaf, I have a soft spot for because I have a weird emotional connection to this specific portrayal of Count Olaf, apparently. But I actually think he's like a really good villain. The comments he makes to Violet, I really just want to think he says them to fuck with her and not because he actually means any of them. But there's a moment
Not
when
because
like
he
her
actually
hand-
means to.
No, I mean like the
F-
the creepy, icky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Yep.
To mess with her, not because
I didn't hear that. And
I didn't say it. I just.
No, I
Anyway.
picked up the vibe. I got her. I understood. But because like there's a point when Hook Hand's like talking to him on the walkie-talkie, and he's all like, "Yeah, no, I know she's yours," and I'm like, "Mr. Hook Hand, what were you gonna do if she wasn't?" Like, especially
Yeah.
since you got hooks for hands, you know. But anyway, that's
no.
such a silly but terrifying
Teapots have
thought.
invaded our chat.
I like that Olaf is evil for the sake of being evil, but also has like realistic motivations.
So
Like, yeah, he just
I-
enjoys being evil, but he also has reasons for it. He's just not an evil guy.
So I hate the term evil for the sake of being evil, like as a criticism for things, because like it's used to just be like, oh, well, they're evil for like no reason whatsoever, right? But like evil for the sake of being evil is supposed to mean evil for the sake of evil reasons. And like greed is evil because they enjoy killing is evil. So it's like, yeah, he has reasons and they're evil reasons. So he's evil for the sake of evil, and I just find it such a shallow criticism. Sorry. I know you weren't criticizing
know.
him.
I
It's
just
a
feel
thing
like
of mine.
a lot of characters that like are often called evil for the sake of evil don't even have like reasons for like it's usually like, oh, they're just doing this because that's what the author needed them to do in that moment. They don't have like the proper setup to be a whole character, as I feel like.
Yeah,
That
but Count
kind of
Olaf would
villain?
dangle
Yeah.
the baby out of the window just because.
Yeah.
Not because the author needs him to do it, but just because he feels like doing it.
But that's a
who he is.
reason. That's a pretty evil
What do you
reason.
guys think? How like would this story be like if it actually was told like in an adult voice from Olaf's point of view? Like,
Oh
I'm
no.
just an actor in this struggling, beat up house. I hate kids, but I got money,
Okay.
so
I think he
But,
would
like, I
convince
would
himself it's a play and that everyone knows what's going on and that he's not mistreating the children because they are playing their role and he's playing his role. I think that's how it would be written.
I also like that he was essentially just taken down by his own ego. Because
Yeah.
he was like, well, we're not even finishing the plan. Look at this amazing thing that I did, and all of you were fooled. And I'm like, sir.
I think that's so
you
charming
waited
about
and
him
went and
though.
filed it.
Because that is so
Charlie
realistic. Like, so many people give up the second they get what they want and don't think through the consequences of that. But just drop everything because, oh, well, I have what I need, right?
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
I love that.
No,
I also
loved
just
it.
love
I was-
his, like, theatrics. Like,
So
how
Anne is
big
the
and bold.
henchman. That's what we've learned.
I really hate Olaf, but because I hate him so much, I mean, that makes him a good villain, right? So, like, I have to admit he's a good villain because I hate him. So,
You don't hate him.
logics.
when I got to like the child wedding scene, I had afterwards, I had a very distinctive memory of me watching the Jim Carrey movie and going, Jim Carrey, what are you doing? Why would you do this to me? You are my Grinch. What are you doing?
Right, and the Grinch is such a happy and loving character.
He doesn't marry Cindy Lou.
I mean, would you put it past him? If it would stop Christmas?
I firmly believe the Grinch would. He's got Martha May, who is an option. I firmly believe he would draw that line in the snow.
That's the bar. He doesn't marry Cindy Lou Who.
I mean, I loved him as Count Olaf. It was just I was far younger when I watched the Child Bride part, so I was very disappointed in my Grinch.
I never
And Ace
saw
Ventura, pet detective. How dare he?
I never saw the movie, but I did watch the Netflix series, and Count Olaf is played by what's his name?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, and he is
Yes!
fantastic as Count Olaf. Like a 10 out of 10. You look at him, you're
Excuse me, I'm gonna
disgusted,
watch
yet you're
the series
intrigued. You're
now.
like, what am I feeling? What?
When
I
I
was-
watched the Netflix series, I was like, it felt really weird watching it because I'm like, this isn't the Count Olaf I know because it's very obviously the same character, but I feel like it feels different to me the way the two went about it. And I only saw the first season of the Netflix show, but I'm like, this is a weird Count Olaf. I don't know if I like this.
No, he's great. You have to watch the whole thing. It's
I
amazing.
will. My friend recently binged the whole thing, and they were like, "Listen, you gotta watch this." I'm like, "Okay."
How do they break it up versus like the books for the seasons? Like,
There's at least an episode per book, but for a couple there's multiple, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Like
think
the
it's
later
the first
books.
4 books are the first season, if I remember correctly.
okay, that's what I wasn't
Fun.
sure because I was like, I don't want to start watching it when I don't want to get
Mm.
ahead.
I was.
It's on the
gonna read it
Wikipedia.
first,
The
but I
Wikipedia page
might-
for it tells you how it breaks it down by season.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna read it first, but for my Neil Patrick Harris, I might have to watch it first.
It's also all titled. Like it will be titled the name of the book and then part 1, part 2, part
Ooh.
3.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
That's some fan dedication.
So-
there. I like that.
See, for like the 5th book, that's the first one that's split into 2. Every other book had 1 episode, but the 5th book, The White Widow, is split into 2 episodes. And then sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2 episodes per book, depending on how much
I mean, but
how
that's
much is
a
happening.
fair way to handle it.
Yeah.
Also, I get you, Essie.
Yeah, saying exactly. I don't like him so much. I don't
Well,
like
just
him
read
so
the
much
rest
that
of
I
the
know he's a good
series,
villain
come
because
on.
of the reaction I have.
And stop being an Olaf apologist.
I will never justify any of his actions, but I love me a good shitty person. So in fiction,
Yes, 'cause normally I can root for villains, but like being mean to kids. That's,
Oh, no,
that's
I
the
ain't
line in
rooting
the
for
sand
him.
where it's like,
I look
or
forward
animals.
to
You mean to
however
kids or
it
animals, and
happens.
you are an enemy to me now.
I don't think there's any animal death in the series.
All I
Not
know,
like
the
an-
teaser,
one good
the
thing.
teaser for book 1 has that he's going to investigate whatever happened to all the reptiles of the thingy for the next relative.
Oh,
they're
we
gonna
didn't
stay
talk
at,
about the
so.
ending, how it ended on that sort of
We should.
intrigue.
Oh,
I
God,
How,
really
don't
how
know
did
how
it
ended.
end? I forgot.
So the way it ends is first you have like the ending for the I guess book 1 is how I'll say it, when they're like in the car and they're gonna go, and it's like all grim and shit because it's like, well, instead of staying in the safety and security of Justice
Editor's
Strauss,
note.
then
Oh.
yeah, instead of staying with the safety and security of Justice Strauss, they're being shipped off to the unknown to a new relative or whatever, with Count Olaf still out there. And I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful. And then Lemony Snicket has an editor's note where he's like, hello. Yeah, he's looking for information that anybody might have on what happened to the reptiles of their next
Monty.
relative. I think,
Name's
yeah.
Monty.
Montgomery, my favorite character name.
I love him. He is amazing.
But no, honestly, those last couple pages that them we find out they're getting shipped off, and then that editor's note, it really like made
I
me
love
then want to
that.
continue because I was like, oh, I'm done with this story. I just want to get through this first one. But I was like, oh, that was a very intriguing ending. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, that's a great setup.
And the next couple of books have very similar plot lines, but they feel very different still.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like the whole situation that they're in is always similar yet completely different because of the place they're in, the relatives, everything that's surrounding them. So it's so great.
see, because like in my head, I kept thinking, where's the story gonna go if their life is like this right now and like this? Like in my head, I couldn't like wrap my head around it. But like, oh, how it ended, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get the setup of the series a little bit more now. Because I knew it was this long ongoing series, and I'm like, what are they gonna have all these other books about?
More unfortunate events.
More unfortunate events. If I only would have read the
A
title,
series of them.
I would
one
have
might
figured it
say.
out. The mystery was right there all along.
People are gonna get tired of me saying that, but I can't not. It's just always right there.
Do you guys' book
Can I
also have like the
touch you?
first chapter or something of the next book? Because I hated that. All of my books, I got them in a series collection, and every book has like the first 2 chapters of the next book. And I'm like, I bought this as a collection.
The ebooks, because I own all
Mine
of
did
them except for 9, 10, 11, and 12, because I'm thrifting them, and I haven't come across those yet. And so I had to read those on Scribd, and the ebooks that I read had the chapter at the end, but my physical copies don't.
I just don't get it. Like, this is not even about the series, it's about whoever printed it. I'm just, what? Wasted space.
Wasted space, wasted paper, wasted ink.
Wasted time.
Could have knocked down $1.
Violet and Anne, do your books have deckled edges?
No.
What's
mine
deckled
doesn't.
edges?
The
They're not like even.
uneven. You
No.
can't even see it.
Mine
Yeah,
doesn't.
I hate it.
Straight.
I hate deckled edges with every fiber of my being, and the fact that one of my favorite series has this, I'm like, because when I read, if I'm like, say I'm reading chapter 1, I'll like flip and count how many pages I have until chapter 2, so I'm like, do I have enough time to read the next chapter? And it makes it so hard to turn these stupid pages, and the fact that I just read a whole series with that, like, I was so frustrated by that time I got
It
to that
works
last
for the
book.
series, though, doesn't it?
It does feel fitting, but like, I got so mad about it.
I have such a love-hate relationship with deckled edges because, like, aesthetically, I really like them. And to know that the reason that they're, like, made like that is because when books were originally printed, they were, like, folded the papers and then had to cut them out, which is why they were all uneven and stuff. So, like, the book hipster nerd in me is all like, yeah, this is, like, authentic printing, as if modern printing isn't authentic. But then, like, they are a pain in the ass to try to physically read. So it's like, and then you can't even see them when you put them on their shelf because, like, who puts your book on the shelf with the spine facing away? So it's like,
Psychopaths.
I don't even see the deckled edges when it's on the shelf. So I'm like, what is the point? But still, when I see them physically, I'm like, but it's so nice looking.
I don't even like how it looks. I don't like how it looks. I don't like how it feels turning the pages. Most of the time, it's more expensive to buy the book edition that has deckled edges because it's like the fancy version. I hate everything about deckled edges. That's a hill that I will die on, is that deckled edges are bad.
I love that.
Should we wrap it up? Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Read book 2 and
3 and 4.
and
All of them. Read all of them. They're really good. And like you really can't solve the mystery until the last book. Like if
Wait,
you
so
want to
you guys
figure
have
out
read
what
the
the
whole
fuck is
series.
going on.
What is your favorite book in the series?
I like the next one a lot, and I like the one with the elevator a lot.
Oh, I don't like the elevator. That's
I-
probably
I-
one of my least favorite ones.
I used to hate it, but then it grew on me.
Hold on, I have to look at the titles of all of them to remember which ones, because I don't remember what order they
I
come in.
think I also like the hotel one. Because I didn't like the iceberg one. I hated the mill one. I hated the village one.
Oh my god, The Miserable Mill, worst
It's the
book in
worst.
series,
It is!
because it's- So they're all dark, obviously. This is a dark series, but I feel like The Miserable Mill is just straight up miserable. Like, you don't get any reprieve from it the entire book. And, like, I got to the end of it, I'm like, I can't.
Oh, so it's like the Order of the Phoenix of the series
Yeah.
for Harry
That
Potter.
was my favorite movie. You can't
8 and
say
9,
that.
I think, were my favorites.
Hold on, I have to have a list.
The hospital and the hostel hospital.
I
and
don't like the
Carnivorous
hospital.
Carnival. Really?
No.
And then I like the last two. I love the way the series ends, which I feel like is very
No, I don't like the ending.
I
mean,
honestly
it's
don't
not
even know
as bad.
which of you
very
guys' tastes
polarizing.
to go off of, because Anne and I do not agree on Taylor Swift songs
No.
at all, and Mars, we don't agree on a lot of books and book tropes. So like, I don't
Correct.
trust either of you guys' opinions.
See, but I feel like my opinion of Cirque the Freak grew on you, so I think you should listen to me. Oh, I loved the Grotto one, because that was so
The
different.
Grim Grotto is a good
Yeah.
one. I thought that was earlier in the series. I thought
like
that was book
11.
like 8, but it's 11.
Also, the Carnival one, that was fun.
Yeah, I like the hospital and the carnival are 8 and 9, and those are my favorite ones. Oh,
Honestly,
Chloe's-
for me, I either love them or I really couldn't stand them. Like, there's no in between. I don't have like, this was fine. Doesn't exist.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I would love it if you guys like posted some sort of tier ranking or something
Yes! Oh my
in the
God, I
Discord
will.
if you were so
Yes.
inclined. I would love to
So,
see where they
be
rank
sure to
out.
do
Violet, what we should do, since we're both going to continue the series, is Anne and yes, child. Yes, go away. I'm streaming. Sorry.
Me and the
So-
child. What am I doing with the child? What is going on?
So these two post their tier rankings, right? And then you and I, after we read the series, we post our tier rankings and we see how like they all line up.
So you want to
Would
continue
you like
the series too, Sam?
non-spoilery reasoning
also-
behind our rankings? Or would you
Yes,
just want the ranks?
Oh,
No,
no,
I
we
would
should
like
do both.
non-spoiler.
We should have like a non-spoilery one, but then we can still put the spoiler with the spoiler warning.
Yeah.
And then once they're done, they can click on it. I'm gonna do this tomorrow, so I have enough time to do this. Like for every single book, go through it, look at everything that's going on, because I have a lot of opinions.
I'm gonna just link my Milo
that
note
is so
boards
cute.
as my reasons.
Okay, introduce yourselves if you want to. Oh,
No.
I should introduce myself. And by myself, I mean the book club.
Do it.
Reading Mistborn next month. It's the year of Sanderson. I've never read any Brandon Sanderson. This is his, I think, biggest hit.
I think so.
Yeah. So we're reading it. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited. That's all I have to say.
Wait, I also have a book club. We're talking about our books on Friday. If you want to come hang out with us, they're not for children, but they're so fun. I've read, or I'm still reading The Marionettes by Kitty Wismer, who's a fellow like indie author and author tuber, and her books are in KU. Emma's
don't
reading
have
Jade
any.
City, and I have no idea what Hannah's reading.
Hand
But
was
Caught a
Akata
Witch.
Witch, which is why I read that.
I
There we
haven't
go.
read any of them. I couldn't
how
find access to any of them.
How does your book club work?
We have 3 picks. One is YA, one is NA, and one is adult. And we have an overarching theme. So this month, our theme was urban fantasy. Next month, it's like polyamorous relationships. So we all find a book with the same trope, so we can discuss the trope, and then have individual books for individual ages. And then we just rotate through ages.
What is
Friday
doing
is
the most?
5.
I have to see if I can figure out if I have time to read 3 books by Friday.
You don't have to read all of them. Just pick one.
Have you met me?
Yes, I have. You will not just read one.
That's
I don't
if
have
I
a-
can. If I can't this week, then I won't be joining this month, but it's fine.
This is Chloe.
Hey, Chloe.
That's all
What
the
did that say?
outro I need.
Love that.
Yes, you may get a snack.
May I also get a
I
snack?
want a snack.
Hi, I am a writing mom Smith at El Nasset, and I'm considering faking my death so that my children will have to go to my second, third cousin remove or something. I don't know, because they're bugging me. And on my channel, I talk about writer things, parent things, and writer-parent things. I'm hosting a Let's Talk to talk about the movie Encanto tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And yeah, that's how today.
Michael was here the whole time. Didn't say
Bye.
anything and just smiled.
He's so
He's been
kid.
captured by Count Olaf. That's the
Bye.
Hookman type
Thanks for
thing.
watching. See you next month for Mistborn. Join the Discord. Do all the things. Subscribe to the co-hosts and also Casey. Bye.
Give the other 12.
Stand well back from the platform edge. The next afraid that 5 does not stop here.